We move on to our coverage of the war in West Asia. NATO's Secretary General Mark Rutte is convinced that the alliance will be able to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. He says NATO members, along with allies such as South Korea and Japan, are preparing a joint response to reopen the crucial shipping lane. But he did not specify which countries were prepared to take concrete action or what form that action would take. Rutte's statement is clearest signal so far that allies are looking to join US-led efforts for reopening navigation through the strait. Trump has become increasingly frustrated at his allies for not answering his call.
I know the president was angry because he feels that European and other allies have been too slow. The good news here is that since Thursday, a group of 22 countries, most of them from NATO, but also Japan, Korea, Australia, New Zealand, the UAE and Bahrain, most of the other countries from NATO, coming together to implement his vision of making sure that the Strait of Hormuz is free, is opening up as soon as that is possible.
Rutte said that NATO is determining what is needed, when it is needed, and how to carry it out together, adding that they will proceed as soon as the time is right. His remarks suggest that NATO has been coordinating or exchanging views with South Korea, Japan, and partners in Europe and the Middle East in response to US calls for action. Trump has become increasingly frustrated at his allies for not answering his call. He has criticized NATO's response, calling them a paper tiger and cowards. But Rutte blamed the allies' slow response to Trump's surprise attack on Iran and the secrecy surrounding it. He said that it was only logical that European countries needed a couple of weeks to rally around Trump's plans, as they were not given notice before the initial strikes on Iran. He added that NATO will always come together.
The United States has been planning for this for weeks. For obvious reasons, because of security, it was impossible to share that knowledge with allies, because that would then have prevented the effect of the first attack, because there was a risk always of leaking. So I totally understand why the US was not able to share this with allies. But at the same time, it means that European allies and partners all over the world have used the last couple of weeks to make sure that we come together, that they started planning to see what we can do collectively as allies, as partners of the United States, at the moment that's possible, for the Strait of Hormuz to open up, and therefore answering the president's call on this.
US allies have walked a tightrope on the war in West Asia so far. On March 14, Trump publicly urged countries heavily reliant on oil, specifically China, France, Japan, South Korea, and the United Kingdom, to send warships to help police the strait. Days later, 7 US allies issued a joint statement saying they were ready to help. But 3 of them, Italy, Germany, and France, immediately stressed that any initiative would take place post-ceasefire. Meanwhile, US Ambassador to the United Nations Mike Waltz has said Sunday that American allies are beginning to come around on providing support to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Waltz pointed to Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi, who pledged portions of her navy to the effort following a meeting at the Oval Office. On the other hand, Iran has challenged the American narrative on the Strait of Hormuz, saying it remains open. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has claimed that shipping delays are not the result of an Iranian blockade, but rather because insurers fear the war of choice initiated by the US and Israel. Well, earlier, to discuss more, we were joined by senior international journalist and political analyst, Dr. Wael Awad from New Delhi. Listen in to what he had to say.
Yes, absolutely. You are right in presenting the picture. The reality of the ground is that the Arabs and the Israelis people, they will suffer if there is any radiation in the region. You know, the American and the Israeli attacked on Bas, the nuclear site of Iran, and there was no radiation. But Iran have retaliated by attacking the Muna. And we all know that Israel possesses more than 200 nuclear heads. And if there is any radiation in that region, we will be the first people to die from the nuclear radiation in that region. So therefore, I think the Americans are not understanding the level of escalation they're taking this war into. And the Iranians have proved once again that their technology are able to penetrate deep inside Israel and even attacking the American F-35 when the Americans think that this is $100 million a plane, nobody can attack it, but they with $100,000 rocket, they were able to shoot it down. So even that shows you that the American understand the Iranian strength in the ballistic missile and the technology have exceeded the American expectation and the Israelis. Having said that, I will also remind you that the war in Iran, it has nothing to do with the nuclear program. It has nothing to do with the Iranian ballistic missile. In fact, it has to do with the technology and the scientists and the knowledge how by the Iranian that they will be totally destroying it. And if you go the sequence of this war, it shows you that now by widening this war and attacking more targets in Iran, it is basically to make sure that Iranian can never come up again. And they send the replica of Iraq. You remember Iraq invasion? They did the same thing. They destroyed Iraq infrastructure. There was no weapon of mass destruction. They killed all the scientists of Iraq. They have assassinated them one by one. Why? Because they don't want us to have the knowledge of know-how or the technology. They just wanted us to be, a consumer of their own products, whether it is in the retail consumer or it is a military consumer.